Hello everyone, Dustman Fan 06 here, and today we're talking about the laziest anti-furry I've seen on the internet. His name is Miguel 2.91, so let's get started. First off, he has a Sonic OC while calling himself an anti-furry, which doesn't really make sense because Sonic is a furry. He keeps insisting that Sonic isn't a furry and that he's an anti-furry himself. One of his main arguments is that Sonic can't be a furry because he was born in the 90s, and the furry community was supposedly created in the year 2000. That's just not true. According to Wikipedia and furry fandom history, the term furry originated in the 1980s through science fiction conventions. By the mid-1990s, it was defined as the organized appreciation and dissemination of art and prose regarding furries, or fictional mammalian anthropomorphic characters. Sonic fits that perfectly. He's an anthropomorphic character. He claims Sonic isn't anthropomorphic and has no human characteristics. But if Sonic didn't have those traits, he'd be walking on all fours like a real hedgehog. Another argument he uses is that Sega never officially confirmed Sonic is a furry. First, just because they haven't said it doesn't mean it's a no. Second, he tries to use AI to prove his point, which is unreliable at least half the time. AI bases its answers on what's common online, not always on actual facts. I tested this myself with ChatGPT and Grok. When I asked about Miguel 2.91 without any context, it barely mentioned anything about him being an anti-furry. But when I gave some context about him being anti-furry, the description changed completely. So no, AI isn't reliable for this kind of info. Stick to trustworthy sources like the Planeta Sonic channel or Wikipedia instead. He also says Sonic isn't a furry because he has no fetish. That doesn't make sense either. The furry community isn't built around weird transformation fetishes or that kind of thing. In fact, a lot of furries dislike that side of the community. That's not super controversial, but I wanted to mention it anyway. He claims all furries are bad, which isn't true. I'm not saying the community is perfect, but there are plenty of good furries out there, especially on YouTube, like Ivycomb, Generic Purple Protogen, Max Fluffy, Bruno Marquez, the Eno Dog, and many others. Now for a more concrete example, he says Mika from SDF 1 Grand Prix isn't a furry. At first I believed him, but then I took a closer look at the character and noticed she has a tail. I checked the game's manual and confirmed she's an anthropomorphic dog. So, yeah, she could definitely be considered a furry. Before I wrap up the video, I just wanted to point out that he deleted a video where he said gay people are all militants, which comes across as pretty homophobic. It wasn't satire, it was serious. He also claims to be mega respectful, but that video proves otherwise. I'll link it in the description. And if he deletes it, no worries. I saved a copy that shows what he said. Also, I recently found out something pretty wild about the anti-furry flag. From what I've seen on places like the Vexillology Wiki and various discussions online, it appears to be based on the flag of a Russian neo. The design, with the red and black colors, and that phi symbol, mirrors one used by an obscure Russian far-right or neo. On top of that, some sources claim the anti-furry community, or at least parts of it, has roots tied to neo-Nazi ideologies. And yeah, that flag shows up in Miguel 2.91's channel sometimes. Miguel, if you're watching this, you could seriously get yourself in a lot of trouble by associating with or displaying that stuff, even unintentionally. Symbols like that carry heavy baggage, and platforms, or even laws in some places, don't mess around with anything that looks like extremist imagery. Just something to think about, and maybe distance yourself from if you want to keep things clean. Now you might be wondering, why would he be lazy? Well, it's because when he looks something up, he just clicks on the very first result that pops up without bothering to check reliable sources like Wikipedia or actual history pages. For example, in one of his videos, he spent over 3 minutes showing 1980s technology to prove there was no way furries could create digital art back then. That just shows he didn't do any real digging. He clearly never checked sources like WikiFur, Wikipedia's furry fandom page, or furry history timelines. Those confirm the fandom started in the late 1970s and 1980s with fanzines, photocopied art, and early conventions, long before widespread home computers. Digital stuff came later in the 90s with things like CompuServe comics and online sharing, but hand-drawn and traditional art was huge from the start. He just bases his proofs on his own assumptions instead of facts. And Miguel, if you're watching this, here's some friendly advice. Do better research. Spend a little more time searching trustworthy sources on the internet before making claims. Wikipedia, WikiFur, or even old furry zine archives are great starting points. Improve your editing and presentation. Use apps like InShot or CapCut to edit your videos properly. Write a script beforehand too, because right now you repeat the same things a lot and it makes the video drag on. Following those 2 tips would make your content way stronger and more credible. Just saying.